Hello, I'm Elise Chaffins, and I'm here today with Nora Kirkpatrick, writer and director of the film A Tree Fell in the Woods, which is premiering at the Tribeca Film Festival on June 8th. Thank you so much for joining me today, Nora. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So can you just give us a brief overview of what A Tree Fell in the Woods is about?
Sure. It's two couples who take a weekend trip up into the mountains on New Year's Eve. And two people see some things they weren't supposed to see. And over the course of the evening, the relationships unravel and perhaps repair in different iterations. And that's a no spoiler kind of
Yeah.
overview.
Yeah, one of the like talking about this movie is a little tricky without spoilers,
Mhm.
but one of the things that I did really appreciate about this film is that there are characters that could be written almost as kind of like villainous kind of people, but that's not how you portrayed them. Can you just talk about how you made everybody kind of a relatable character through this?
Yeah, I think, you know, relationships can be so complicated and so beautiful and all of those things all at once. And I think I kind of wanted to explore the intricacies of the gray zone
Mm.
of people who are not bad, who perhaps make bad decisions, which happens.
Right, right.
And I felt like I was trying to identify four different kinds of people who had four different outlooks on perhaps the same thing. And then I got to argue with myself as I was writing to try to justify each of those viewpoints. So it was kind of a nice challenge. And at the end of the day, when I watch it, I feel for all of them. And hopefully that's the point.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that I also really loved is that you have interactions kind of between all of the different pairings of these couples. And I
Mhm.
think that really like opens things up for them. Can you talk about how you approached those conversations as a writer and then as a director and just kind of the way that you framed them?
Yeah, well, I knew I wanted to make something contained, but for several reasons. One, I think it's amazing for actors to get to really act. We don't have any chase, car chases and bank heists. We have emotional drama.
Right.
And so I knew that would be really fun for the actors. And then I kind of viewed the house as almost like a dollhouse. And I had them all in the different rooms in my mind. And I was like, well, what if this person goes down here and runs into this person and this person? And, I realized this in hindsight, but I think perhaps one of the inspirations for this type of film was the play and movie Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, which
Mm.
is a real kind of upstairs, downstairs, who's where, who's talking to whom at what time. And I love that movie and I love that play. And so just an opportunity to give these four actors who are all incredible performers
Yeah.
the chance to just stand and deliver and do the scene work. I was really excited about.
Yeah, that was actually kind of leads really well because I was thinking that this is just such an incredible cast that you have here.
Mhm.
Uh, and I'm just curious, was there much improvisation from the actors during the filming, especially in the one, I don't know, where the drinking scene in particular felt like I wasn't sure how on script versus go crazy that was.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think, a lot of it, I would say most of it was scripted, and
Right.
only because of the timing of the scenes had a real rhythm to them. But
Mhm.
I love improv. And so if anyone had any ideas, we would for sure try them. But we would almost like script them in because the rhythm of it was
Mm.
so specific. But on another film, I would do way more improv. This one I was more heavily scripted, perhaps than most. I think basically due to the timing of things. But a lot of them had great ideas, of course, and we would always find a way to get those in there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, as So obviously you wrote the script and kind of come at it with a vision. When you actually get behind the camera though, does any of that change? Do you kind of see, oh, maybe this didn't really work the way that I thought it would whenever it's actually like in front of you? And how do you kind of navigate that?
Of course. Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, so much of it on the page can feel one way, and then a lot of it has to do with the space that you shoot in
Mhm.
and how different is that than what you anticipated. And you have these limitations placed on you by production, which are always a fun challenge. And sometimes you don't have the time or the space or the rooms are different. And so all of that affects the language and how the blocking moves. And so I would make I would make on the day adjustments, just depending on what was working. And a lot of that comes in between rehearsal and shooting. So it's nice to be both the writer and director because you can watch it, you can feel what's not working, you can take a quick second, make some adjustments, and then kind of do it in real time, which is nice and great to have a cast that can work in that way. I will say so much of this is as scripted, which is
Mhm.
cool,
Yeah.
which is also exciting because I also didn't expect maybe so much of it to hold. But yeah, there were always little things we were finding our moments, and so much of that really comes from blocking.
Mm.
I think, you know, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So kind of shifting gears a little bit, can you just talk about kind of your path through making this film to this premiere coming up here at Tribeca?
Yes, this I had worked a lot in TV, both as a writer and director, and a lot in commercials and a lot in virtual reality, actually. But this was my first normal feature, normal flat feature. And this was my first time doing independent financing and working with independent producers outside the studio system. And so it was a bit of a journey to get to the shoot, of in terms of casting and schedules and financing. And there were some, I won't say roadblocks, speed bumps of iterations and the schedule changed wildly in terms of when we were shooting. And we really needed snow. And so we ended
Hmm.
up, our shoot dates kept pushing. And we finally got to Utah in like late May, early June, and there happened to be snow because of,
Wow.
I don't know, climate change. And but by the end of it, we were driving up the mountain, putting the snow in the back of the truck and driving it back down the mountain to like give us more snow. Yeah, there were, it was about a year and a half of like almosts before we got it together.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it works so well. Um, can you talk just a little bit about the Kevin Pollak character? I just
Mhm.
think he's such an interesting kind of like slide into the story. Like, how did
Yeah.
you kind of see what his role is? Because yeah.
Yeah, he was to me almost, I don't know if you remember the Truman Show, or I'm not sorry, the Truman Show, Pleasantville,
Mm,
where
okay.
there's like the guy who comes to fix the remote, but then he's kind of this omniscient character who knows way more than he lets on.
Hmm.
And that's kind of how I viewed the Kevin Pollak character, not to overly explain where the magic of this place comes from and the purpose of the house itself, but to give kind of an insight as to maybe this was part of a larger plan. And maybe this neighbor character who seems to just be a friendly neighbor fixing things orchestrated this more than he's going to explain to us, was my viewpoint on that.
Right on. Yeah, he was an interesting character in there. I
Yeah.
really appreciated that. Yeah. So just as we kind of wrap up here, like what themes or things would you hope that an audience would take away from watching A Tree Fell in the Woods?
I think one of the questions I was thinking about when I wrote it was how much truth is in true love
Hmm.
and how well our partners know us and how well they should. And kind of like when you start something and then you grow as a human being, sometimes you grow really in parallel with a partner, and sometimes you grow kind of apart and you're looking at each other from over this divide. And the question is like, do we actually know each other well enough to get back closer together, or are we too far apart? And we're
Mhm.
holding on for reasons that we've created that perhaps aren't truthful. And so I think those were all the questions I was thinking about, the purpose of a relationship and how to make it full of truth instead of make believe, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you really have achieved that. And yeah, I wish you well with this film and
Yeah.
congratulations. Thank you for talking again.
Oh, it was so nice to talk to you.
Absolutely.